Hello, everybody. I'm not going to do the normal vendor sales pitch, you'll all be pleased to know. I don't want to waste 15 minutes of your time. I want to give you some value. I once wasted 15 minutes of Ada's time, and I learnt a lesson there. I'm going to talk to you as this guy. So I started my career in 1991 with Aston Electronic Designs. I left there to become an Aston operator. And I was really good. I was known as Aston Adam. So you can imagine my dismay when they hired another Aston operator called Martin. But I've been in the trenches. I've been on OBs, I've worked in a lot of newsrooms, I've worked on a lot of sports. I know broadcast. If you cut me in half, I read broadcast all the way through. It's been my entire career. So I, like you, think, what is going on? It's kind of crazy. So the social platforms now have become this huge gravity well of attention that we're losing viewers to left, right, center, all over the place. The audience is becoming overwhelmed and fragmented by all the choice that they have and how that comes together. And here we are all chasing for the same 6-7 minutes of attention from all of these eyeballs. And what do they want? Well, of course, they want amazing content. They want TV to be the very best shows. They want it to be free. They don't want to share any information with anyone, and they don't want to look at any ads. This is impossible to have a business model that will wrap around this, so we have to find other ways around. And then to borrow a lyric from my favorite band, Radiohead, everything in its right place. Where's the right place to deposit that kind of stuff? Now, this is interesting because the boundaries are blurring. This guy, Chang Hu, he puts maths lessons on Pornhub, and he's got a staggering 1.9 million views. I haven't fact-checked this, so if you do fact-check it, please be aware of the people around you. But the boundaries are blurring here, and where we deliver this stuff to is actually getting quite dissipated. Then, of course, the elephant in the room, YouTube. I've started to see there's a massive debate started to come up about, is YouTube or is not TV, okay? And sometimes I wonder whether that's asking the wrong question. So I'm going to bring up something from the year 2000, because I am old. We used to have this thing back in the day called the long tail effect, where the most viewed, highly popular websites like Google and things like that, they were always the ones that made the most money, because everything at this front end of the long tail made the most money. But there was a theory that down here, this line never hit the bottom. So everybody's always interested in something. So this line is the knitting websites and the model railway websites, right? But the theory was that if you could monetize the long tail, then actually what you would do is make nearly as much, if not more, than the highly popular, highly viewed content. And television's very much like that. We're driven by ratings. So, you know, the definition of what television is actually kind of the most viewed, the most popular content. And even YouTube's getting in on that with Jimmy. So Jimmy's even playing the game up there as well with Amazon, for instance. But the interesting thing about YouTube is it monetized the long tail. So what that is a different kind of TV. We have content that we could put into YouTube that would also monetize the long tail for us too. It's an interesting thought. Then, by connecting everything, have we disconnected everyone? Here's a startling thing. This is a light phone. Anybody seen one of these? It's a dumb phone. You can't reach this phone with your videos. It's impossible. Sorry, Ada. And what's fascinating is that nearly 210 million of these were sold last year. So we're starting to see that this kind of old is new again. What about vinyl sales? Vinyl sales in Q1 of 2005 up 15.4%. Books in the US last year up 4.1%. Is old new again? Have we reached peak social? And if we start planning to hit social, are we hitting it on the way down? It's another thing to keep in our minds that people are overwhelmed and people are beginning to switch off. So this is the world that all of us in this room are trying to make sense of. And the more we talk about progress, the more noise that we make. So let's talk about cloud. This is a good example. So what do we actually mean by cloud? User A has a server in the basement, talks to the server. You ask user A, is everything all right? Yeah, it's fine. Okay, we shift it across the road. We give them a fiber link. Is everything all right, user A? Yeah, everything's fine. Then we shift the servers to Ireland. We put a hyperscaler logo on it. run it over public internet and ask user A, is it okay? They say, well, it's a bit slow, but it's fine. User A doesn't care where it's running. They just want the software to work. So it's not where we run the code, it's the code that we run that matters. It's the software. So I'm going to make a really controversial statement. I believe we're in a post-cloud era. And I think over the next 2 days, it's going to be very interesting to see how many broadcasters stand on this stage and mention cloud, because there's something else on the horizon. Is this the era of AI? I'm starting to sound like Taylor Swift. So utility AI, this is great. We use this all the time. nxtedition, running transcriptions, making subtitles, do that. Every single client is perfect. Isn't it, Ryan? But it's improving at a breakneck speed. I don't know why Will Smith eating spaghetti is a measure of how far AI has come. But as you can see, in a single year, it's really grown. But what's interesting is the pink line is everything that mankind has ever written. And it incrementally goes up just a little bit each day because we write a little bit more. And the models have been trained on this, and they're getting to a point now where they're going to hit the wall. You see what I did there? They did the wall, yeah. So humanity is running out of resource, it's running out of data and infrastructure to be able to improve AI at this breakneck speed any longer. So it's going to slow down. So then it's going to start training on itself. Oh, how did that happen? So there is a wall of noise heading our way, and that wall of noise is coming from Gen AI. Gen AI is going to be doing social posts, all sorts of things, and it's going to be hitting all the users all the time, and we need to find a clear signal through that noise. So is AI production ready? So we've kind of bought into a vision of AI that isn't here yet. So for instance, is a mushroom edible? Yes, you're right, it's a poisonous mushroom. Would you like to learn more about mushrooms? Do we want to put this in a gallery? I'm not sure we do. So instead of buying into the vision, we should really think about the present a little bit, I think. Gen AI will come, but it will not come all at once. And this gives us in the broadcast industry a rare opportunity to catch our breath and get our houses in order. This is my real Taylor Swift moment, right? The age of determinism. Cutting out all the noise so we've only got the signal left so we can deliver content that is going to defeat this wave and tsunami of artificial intelligence that's going to hit us. And the challenge isn't really keeping up with the audience. The audience has already moved. The challenge is that a lot of our own technology stacks are holding us back. In this business, we tend to overvalue addition and undervalue subtraction. You don't see a sculptor adding rock to a sculpture. You don't see a carver adding wood. They take it away. And it becomes an argument about specialists versus generalists. The wine opener here, that's a specialist because it opens a bottle of wine. But the Swiss Army knife can open the bottle of wine, and it can take a stone out of a horse's hoof. Imagine. And many other things. So we've all been to these conferences where we see all of these boxes and lines and boxes and lines, lots of different individual best-of-breed products, and there's nothing wrong with the products themselves, far from it. The problem is the lines. The problem is the glue. This gets worse when you push it into the cloud too. So what we need to do is to try to consolidate our workflows a little bit. This is a specialist view, right? So you've got an NRCS system and a prompter system held together by a piece of glue, MOS protocol, for instance. It's fragile. 2 sources of truth, 2 power supplies, and an unsecure protocol. The generalist view is you just have 2 views of the same piece of data. 1 power supply, 1 source of truth. Now that makes you a jack of all trades and master of none. Fair enough, but does my iPhone sound better than this record? No. Does my iPhone take better photos than this camera? No. Does my iPhone shoot better video than this camera? No. So it's a jack of all trades and a master of none. But there's a comma in there, and there's a reason the comma in there is because this is always misquoted. A jack of all trades and a master of none is often far better than the master of one. It's the totality of the result that's important, not the sum of the parts. Consolidation. So if we use the new tools in the same way that we use the old tools, we'll never fully realize the potential of these new technologies. This is a specialist towing a generalist. So what does a generalist look like? This, and I'm not advertising DJI, I don't know if anybody is from DJI. This is a Ronin 4D camera. The interesting thing about this camera is this is a consolidator. So usually you have to put all the camera body together and the batteries on and the lens on, and then you have to bolt the monitoring on, and then you have to tie that up and put it onto like a steady cam, which is big and bulky and then expensive and special cam operators. But the 4D, you just pull it out of the bag and it can do all of that because it's consolidated into one package. Now, why does that matter? Because you get new creative avenues. Has anybody seen this, Adolescence, on Netflix? One shot for the whole episode. And that was made possible by the 4D. Not only could it do the normal shots that a camera can do, they could also put it on a jib, they could pull it off the jib, they could run with it, push it through windows, put it into car doors, jump through windows, and spectacularly, even take it straight to a drone and push it into the air. These kind of creative avenues only exist when you consolidate all the technicalities into a single consolidated solution. I'll blow my own trumpet a bit. This is me with the Collective Newsroom team in New Delhi. We just did an installation there. Collective Newsroom look after the BBC India's production. It's a 250-seat newsroom in 7 languages. This is what it looks like. We have everybody working in one system. So all the boxes you see at the top here, the planning, the script writing, everything you see is consolidated into a single solution. And it goes through all the way to the gallery and all the way to on air. So the only thing not virtualized here is the vision mixer, the audio desk, and the router. Everything else, graphics, HTML graphics, in fact, hi Ryan, running there. And you can select on the HTML graphic which language you want, Hindi or Telugu, and it will just change because we can use those HTML concepts in really interesting ways. So this is a really cool installation. Now, we could have put it in the cloud for sovereign data reasons and also security. They decided they wanted to put it on-prem. Do you know how many servers it takes to run that newsroom? 250 seats? 4. That's how far the technology's come. And we squeeze every ounce of performance out of those servers. So it's not an IT overhead. So we have at Collective Newsroom 4 servers, 7 languages, 80 million viewers, powered by 4 servers. And you can access it remotely. I checked by the pool, no problem. So consolidation is an enabler. And it allows us to transition into the future. So we can take care of these things that are coming if we get our houses in order, instead of all this disparate best-of-breed stuff. So if I go back to this slide that we were talking about earlier, instead of overvaluing addition and undervaluing subtraction, you flip that on its head, you undervalue addition, and you overvalue subtraction. And that gives you the opportunity to do a lot of what I heard at this event last year. You can just do more with less. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Well done. Great stuff.